This is Wholesaling Houses Elite, the no fluff and BS podcast with tips and tricks to help you become an elite wholesaler. Our guest will spill the beans on what it takes to be the best.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we get started on today's podcast, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor. It's yellowletterhq.com. Now, I'm going to say it very slow so you can write it down. Yellowletterhq.com. If you're doing direct mail, this is a no-brainer. They're number one in customer service. They get their letters out absolutely fast. And I personally know the guy Todd over there, and he's awesome. So if you're doing direct mail and you want innovative postcards and mailers that work, make sure you go visit yellowletterhq.com and enjoy this podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Wholesaling Houses Elite Podcast. I'm Maxwell, and I am with Tyler Austin out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Oh my God, dude, I've seen your success just go boom, 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 boom. But before we get to there, how the heck are you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. It's the end of January, or it's actually the start of February. Today's February 1st.
Yeah, it's the first.
It is already. We're already through the first month of the year, so man, I'm just ready for the next 11, dude.
That's crazy, man. So we've always been interacting on social media for a while now. I can't remember the first time. I remember, it's just crazy. I don't even remember the first time, but I remember your picture of, I think it was like, I know it was you, more like a knee up shot, and you're like walking somewhere with I don't know, it was a dope shot anyways. That's how I remember you, and then we communicated through DM a lot. And then the first time I actually met you in person was last year at We Live 18 when you came to Charlotte, North Carolina. I was like, oh, damn, you're here. And you were with us there, and I met you, man, and your story's compelling. You're a W-2 guy,
Yep.
and was a W-2 guy, I should say.
Was
a W-2 guy. That's awesome to say, man. But tell people a little bit about your background and how you got into real estate.
Man, so I mean, it goes back pretty far, and I don't want to, I guess, go back too far. But it started, when I was enlisted, right? I was enlisted. I was stationed in Alaska at the time. It's kind of when I first got my taste into it. When I was younger, I was always wanting to go to Alaska, right? I always want to have a cabin up there. Mm-hmm. So it was my first duty station, and I, when I was there, I started looking into like real estate investing. Never really took it like serious, because it's Alaska. Everything's stupid expensive. I'm an airman. I make nothing, You
hear that, guys? He's an airman, Air Force. Who?
Yeah, Air Force. Yeah. So I, I'm out there looking for properties and stuff. I'm like $300,000, man. That's like my like 3 months of my paycheck just in the mortgage. Like it's not gonna happen. So I dug further, ended up doing nothing, just stayed living on base. 3 years goes by or whatever. I end up going down into Minot.
North Dakota.
In North Dakota, man. Spent 3 years there. In
I was in
60.
I was in Cheyenne for 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's cold, man.
Taking those helicopter rides to Minot.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. So yeah, and that's kind of when I started trying to like looking into it a little bit more, because I'm like nearing the end of my enlistment. I was deciding like, what am I gonna do? I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try cross train. No one's gonna know what that means, but and I was gonna just continue going on in my military career. But in that process, I ended up buying a house, and I was trying to do the whole house hacking thing, like buy a duplex, buy a triplex or something like that, and then continue on.
Where'd you buy that?
I didn't buy it. I ended up buying a house, a regular single family, but okay. I was looking for that. That's kind of like, I kind of skipped a bunch there. I started doing bird dogging, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that's how I could like get a little bit of money in real estate. It ended up not working out at all. Yeah. Instead, I went with a realtor. We looked at like 50 properties, and he ended up being like, dude, are you going to buy a place? Like, aren't you? Because you're kind of wasting my time. Yeah. Him and I are good friends now. He did like 64 properties as a realtor in Minot last year, which is insane. But yeah, what I ended up doing is I ended up buying a house, and I bought it based off of I was like, okay, it's oil, right? It's oil market. So I bought a house because of the oil. Come to find out, you can't rely on like local oil market. And 2 years later, I sold the place, and thankfully I put some sweat equity in it, and ended up breaking even on it. That was like my first, doing the bird dogging and researching for a triplex and duplexes was like my first intro to it. I ended up getting out. A month after I got out, I found out I wasn't pregnant. My wife was pregnant. I had no job. I was going to school full time, and I'm like, man, I got to figure out what to do. So what did I end up doing? Even though I was trying to do like entrepreneurial stuff, I was doing like a recruiting agency and all this other stuff. I ended up flowing into back into the W-2 life, right? That's when I started the GS position again, and that kind of like put me there. So then fast forward again, let's go back 2 years. Now I'm in Florida, right? My local market. I'm like, okay, we're here in a local place. I know this area. I'm going to start going at it. And that was May of last year. I decided like I'm going to actually start trying to do wholesaling.
Yeah. So how did you hear about it though? For like, I guess you heard about it a while ago, right? Because you started doing bird dogging stuff.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is that whole time frame I was looking for like investment properties. I was trying to find like a buy and hold properties. And I was having like the worst of luck trying to actually find a buy and hold property, right? It was like everything was just market price. Everything was super expensive. And then I'm hearing about these guys listening to like the Bigger Pockets podcasts and all that stuff, like getting these steep discounts. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about, man? I was literally just going to realtors and saying, hey, I would like to make this offer. And they're like, are you crazy? Like, are you trying to hurt my name right now?
Yeah.
You know, and I dug deeper and ended up finding the wholesaling, right? And of course, just like everybody else, I was like, this can't be like real, you know, like this can't be like legit. And I wholesale products. Like I had like niche websites where I was wholesaling stuff from like Alibaba, you know, and like, you know, e-commerce type stuff before. So I knew like the term.
What I'm gathering is you had the entrepreneurial spirit for a long time.
Oh yeah. You know, since I was like 13, I was building websites, trying to sell stuff online. It all failed, you know.
Same
like,
here. Failure is necessary.
Yeah. I would get to the point where I would like make like a couple $100s a month on like an e-com site and then be like, okay, I'm done. You know, and instead of like going with it, right? But I knew about like the wholesaling term, and from that I dug deeper, and found out, okay, so all I got to do is like find a property. And because I did some bird dogging, which I only made like $500 from. I think they ended up only closing one deal out of the ones I was sending to the realtor, and I was bird dogging to a realtor, not an investor, by the way. So I was trying to find properties, send it to the realtor, and try and get him to get him under contracts. Like, so it's kind of, I was like, I don't know, it's kind of doing it backwards. But nevertheless, I was like, okay, so I just got to do the same thing. I just got to do it on a larger scale and get in front of these people. So I ended up, you know, blowing through right around like somewhere around $10,000 in like mail and list source data and all this other stuff. I just went full in, right? And you know, I was getting back like 200 pieces of mail a week in my mailbox. And I'm like, there's something I'm doing wrong. You know, like there's something here. So I stopped for like 2 months. And for that 2 months, I like regathered my thoughts, figured everything out. And then from there, after I restarted building out my processes, making like a back end site, I'm not going to get into all that right now. But hit the ground running after that. And then it was just like, you know, like this. And then like 2 months after that, you know, I think I had closed somewhere around almost 10 deals or so. And then I'm at the event sitting with you guys, and that's where I was at from there.
So let me go back a little bit, because I think what's important is that you have the entrepreneur mindset. You've been doing things. You get home, you get put in a corner. Your wife is about to have a baby. You find out that you guys are having a baby, and then you get into wholesaling, you know, listening to podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff. And you're like, look, this is the way it's working. I got to do mail. And you burn through about 10 grand doing that. And you're realizing, wait, I'm getting a bunch of return mail. I don't know what to do here. And you stop for 2 months. You literally stop. Do you take the time to analyze, or are you like, I don't know if I really want to do this?
For me, it was an analyze thing, because like I've told myself, like, in everything that I've done, like if I don't get a return from something, it's not the something. Right. It's because there's other people doing it. Right.
Yeah.
It's something I got to figure out. Like, it's something me. It's not them. You know, a lot of people try and do this self-reflection thing, and they push it off on somebody else. Like, like going to the gym and all this other stuff. Like, it's always a you thing. It's just you have to dedicate the time and invest in yourself to figure out what really do we need to do here. You know, is it something that, where am I lacking at? So what I did is I did a mind map. You know, I'm big into mind maps. I'm big into like putting everything out in front of me.
Very analytical person, I know.
Yeah. And I put it all out there, and I'm like, okay, what is it inside everything I'm doing right now that's actually failing? And once you find out what that thing is that's failing, then you can reverse engineer from there and say, okay, I got to fix this one thing. And for me, it was because like I was sending out a bunch of marketing, but I was getting nothing in return. So that was what I focused on fixing. And after I fixed that, from there because at this point, so I was working at my GS position, a W-2 job, not a bad job, good for long term, right? Most people would
and
like
GS for most people is a government service. So you worked for the government.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, we're in code talk now.
Yeah. So, great job. Like all my family was like, why are you leaving that? It takes Congress to get you fired. Like that's the most secure job. Like everyone tries to get it. I'm like, I worked so hard to get to this point to being a GS. I was GS 12, right? Which is a decent rank in GS terms. And I just was not happy, man. I was like legit like sadder and emotionally down than I was when I was like, in the process of getting there, I guess.
Broke.
And
I think a lot of people, I tell people all the time, man, I said one of the worst diseases is going to work every day and you hating that job. Man, I think it kills people, man.
Right. And it wasn't so much like the job itself. Like I was a cybersecurity engineer and I love like that stuff. Like I love doing computer stuff. I love, the stuff I was working on, but it was the non-freedom of being able to do things I wanted to do.
But you know what, Tyler? There's a lot of people that are in the same position you are in. They're okay with their job. They're making decent money, but it's the burn inside of them that's wanting them to go do something else. And I always encourage people, go follow that entrepreneur spirit, because at the end of the day, if you leave your job correctly, do what you're supposed to do, you can go get it back. You can go get it back. Don't worry about it. Like if you really want something, go after it and go get it. And that's true about anything in life, especially, entrepreneur spirit. Go after it, chase it, because you only got so long. You only have so long to do it. So,
and that's what I said.
Just go do it. So what was that aha moment? When you were analyzing those 2 months, you said, I burned through so much money. I don't really have it like that. What did you do in those 2 months to analyze? What was your aha moment? And then you kept the ball kicking down the road.
Okay, so ironically, so that GS position is a 50% travel, right? Mm-hmm. And I was in California. I was at Edwards Air Force Base at the time, and I was in my hotel room, and I was looking through my call rail stuff, and then I was like, okay, I got this many calls, from that mail. I got this much mail returned. I kind of like ran the numbers, if you will, to see how much I sent compared to how much I got back. And then I was like, well, that doesn't make no sense. So then I started looking at the data, and I found out that, from what everybody was telling me online, I just buy this list source data and just send it. And that wasn't like proper, right? So I started looking through it, and I found out that the list that I was sending was actually like 50% of it was like not clean. Like it was just like missing first and last names. It was just bad. It was just bad data. So like then when I got back from California, I pulled out, I laid out all the mail, and I started looking at the mail, and I was like, oh, like when I sent out this mail, I was sending out mail that like wasn't accurate to the person. Like it was missing like the name wasn't accurate or whatever. So the mail office just naturally just sent it back to me. Like it just wasn't making it there. So there was that piece right there, finding out that my data was just bad. So then what I ended up doing is I ended up cleaning that data and doing another send of mail on my very first week back. And in that actual first bit of mail that I sent out ended up being my first deal came out of that. Never sent mail, haven't sent mail. Well, I do send mail still, but not to that extent. I haven't sent bulk mail since then. After that first deal, it's always been, figuring out how I can make the data as clean as possible to send it off to get skip traced and all that stuff.
So because I say things and a lot of people say things, but data is king, right? The good data.
Data is king, man.
100%. That's what we're in. We're in finding the opportunity, and the opportunity is going to be within the data. And if you start off with the wrong data, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get it wrong at the end. And a lot of people, they blame the skip tracing company. They blame the dialing company. They blame their cold callers. And it's like, what did you feed them to begin with? If you fed them crap, you're going to get crap. Chicken S always turns out to be chicken S. You can't make chicken salad 100%. Out of it. So I think it's cool. So you're at this point now. You're kicking it off. You're rolling. You decide it's the data. You start to dive deep in that. You come to the conference, and I think you were in the mastermind portion. So you were at the day before the conference start. You and a couple other people were all in this room, and you deep dived your business. And what I liked about your business, and we all critique everybody's business, but you were very analytical, sometimes a little bit over analytical, but you used your brain and the data and your background in computer and computer science and all that stuff to really hack into what was already in front of you to dissect it to go out. So kind of explain your process and some of your, like, give me some stuff that most people you don't see doing. Give me one of your golden gems that you don't see most people doing that you do very well.
Yeah. So because I was traveling so much, because I was still in that job at this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was traveling 50% of the year. My most important thing was creating processes around my business, and figuring out, okay, how can I make it so that this data, after I receive this data, is clean before it gets sent out. So then obviously the first thing people think about is a VA. So we have that VA. So I got the VA integrated. I record every single process, that everything that I do, I record it and teach myself how to do it, or teach my VA how to do it through recordings. I document that online. I break my business up into 4 different quadrants: acquisitions, dispositions, administration, and what's the last one? I just lost it. Acquisitions, dispositions, admin, and marketing, right?
Marketing. Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I did was I documented that whole marketing process on paper in my mind map, right? And then I go through my mind map and I recorded every single step on how I do everything and put it online. Mm-hmm. That way that's all automated. So I automate that whole process so that my VA knows how to do all that. So what we do in that marketing and to get to where I'm sending off the best data possible is we break apart the data into 4 different sheets, right? Trusts, companies, missing data, and clean data.
Okay.
So when I receive that data, and it doesn't matter if it's a tax delinquent list, a probate list, or whatever, it's all the same. It's, your data is your data. So I'm about trying to get it to where my most expensive marketing cost is the last thing that I do. It's like my last effort to contact that person. They get put on that drip cycle. Mm-hmm. So we receive data in, and that data gets broken apart, and we sift through all that data and make it into those 4 different main sheets. Mm-hmm. That clean data right away after it's clean gets sent for skip tracing, or it can get sent to mail depending on what you're doing in your business, right away. Once that data comes back from skip tracing, we receive it back and we break that data up into 2 other sheets: numbers, no numbers. The numbers sheet we throw in and we start putting through our cold calling and our RVM and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. The no numbers sheet automatically gets started on a mail campaign, because there's no other way to reach them if I can't call them. Mm-hmm. If we can't call them, then, and we don't get in front of them, then we will throw them on a mail campaign as well. So we have that whole sequence, and that's all automated. Mm-hmm. And that was what I implemented while I was traveling 50% of the year, and having with one VA. After my first, I think 5 or 6 deals, I hired an acquisitions manager, trained her while I was home, and then went on I think 3 or 4 appointments with her. And then I went out and I was TDYing. She was closing deals while I was at the Wholesaling Elite Summit. She closed 2 deals.
Yeah, I remember that. That's dope.
Or not the summit. I'm sorry. I just made.
No, I get it. Wholesaling Elite Live, man. We Live 18.
We Live 18. I mixed up 2 different conferences. She closed 2 deals while I was there. And that was that was when I realized, okay, you can scale this. I can scale this. I got systems. I'm good to go.
So let me go back, because the people driving and listening to this, I want you to take the time right now, pull over and write this down. You break your business up into 4 categories. You said acquisitions, mm-hmm. dispositions, marketing, and what was the other one?
Administration. And technically there's 5. There's a 5th one called networking and education. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's you as that CEO and the leader. You have to do that. Now, reason why this is important. This is so important, and this is what I liked when he was in the mastermind with us the day before the We Live 18 event. I sit there and I look how analytic you are, and this is how people need to break it down. You break it down, and you need a marketing department, you need an acquisitions department, a dispositions department, and an administrative department. And you said each one of those boxes, you took the marketing department and you recorded videos on how you do every single one of your marketing channels, right? Exactly. Why is that very important?
Well, I want to fire myself from the most tedious tasks first, the things that need to be automated. Yeah.
Exactly. So what he did, I did not do in the early beginning stages of my business. Everything I had was up here. And I'm actually still learning and doing more of that as I grow now, because as I grow, more of my business practices are just in my brain. So what he did, being a very analytical person, he did that up front, and that's great. So he documented his marketing, his dispositions, his acquisitions, and his administrative work. And literally he went through and said, okay, how do I use RVMs, and recorded the process? How do I send mail? How do I do this? And he recorded every single one of those, taking his time of his business. That way he had his whole business mapped out. Like it's one of those crazy movies that if he just disappeared one day, somebody should be able to watch these videos and run his business for him as he had it set up.
That's really important to me, actually. What you just said right there is what I always tell everybody is like, if I'm going to build a business, right, I'm always in any business, right, whether it's one of the other businesses I'm trying to create or whatever, it always has to be in a stage for me. And it's just probably, to where if someone comes up to me tomorrow and they say, hey, I really like your business, I'd like to acquire it, I need to be in that position to be able to make those moves. Like if I pass away for whatever reason and another CEO can't take over and my wife can't be collecting a paycheck from my business, then it's not a business in my mind. I mean, it might be something that's producing money, but it's not like a business that is like a long-term lifetime, ability to hold it. It might just be something that might be within my lifetime. And I'm about building this business. The whole reason I started wholesaling, the whole reason I started investing was so that I could create something that goes beyond my lifetime. And to do that, I had to have everything structured in that way that would provide that for my family. Yeah. And
that's so important, guys. And that, if anything you've ever listened to in this podcast right now, take those 4 quadrants, document exactly what you do. You can use a screen recording program. What do you use to record your screen and record yourself?
So I have OBS, and then I also have I don't know. There's another one I have. OBS Studios.
Yeah. I have OBS. I have one that I use. I use Screen Capture. Screen Capture. It's not probably $100, but it's worth it. It's not the free one. And then there is a free one that's a website. I don't remember what it was, but document your processes step by step so that you can 100%. Eventually have somebody. People always ask me, I want to get a VA. I want to get a VA. Okay, great. Does your VA know exactly what to do, or are you going to hire them for 2 weeks, figure out you don't know what you're doing, and you're going to fire them again? It's like, that's crazy. So you break your mail down. I like that, because a lot of people, when they start this business and that's why I tell people, when you start, just go driving for dollars. And the reason why that's so important, 1, you're going to learn your market. 2, you're actually going to get to see properties. Hopefully you get out the car and talk to anybody that's renovating a property to find out who bought it, who's renovating, pick up contractors, all that type of stuff. Talk to neighbors just to get friendly with your neighborhood, your market, that area. And the data is right in front of you. You see the house, it's vacant. You write down the address, you find out who the owner is, and you go find that person. But when you start buying lists, understand that these lists that you get from these list companies or anywhere, any data, even if you go directly to the source, which is what I do, like to do a lot, you're still getting bad data because data is not always correct. That's it. It's just never correct. So I like how you break it down. I do something very similar in my business where I get the skip tracing back. Those guys go into a deeper, more expensive skip trace that I can't get. And then if I can't get them, then they turn into a simple mail piece. So I like that. I like that business model you got. So what happens? What are you doing now? It's post We Live 18. We had that in October. You totally killed it in the mastermind. I'm pretty sure you learned a lot from the mastermind. You probably connected with a bunch of people in there to help your business. What are you doing now? What does it look like now?
So coming out of the We Live 18, so the reason, I even attended, like the reason I went to that, right, is number one, like I said earlier, you have to invest in yourself, right? And another part of that is the growth opportunity to be able to network with people. Whether you go there and you learn nothing, right? You can't blame whatever you're going there. You can't blame like if I were to tomorrow, go to, I don't know, Walmart and go there for peas and I forget peas. It's not because Walmart didn't have peas, it's because I never actually looked for it, right? I don't know, really weird example, but if I'm going to, I went to the event to be able to do that networking. It's worked out, it was great because, Armani, real good dude, and a bunch of other guys that I communicate on a consistent basis with. We have the Mastermind Facebook group and stuff like that. And then just everybody else around, just talking with people, mingling with people, bringing even someone just starting in the business. I was talking to them, right, and just something that they've done. I haven't even closed a deal yet, but they just said something. I was like, hey, that's a good idea, because here's one big thing I think people have a misconception about. You don't necessarily Okay. And you talk about gurus, and I 100% believe in that, but you don't necessarily, some people aren't good at action, but they're good at explanation. And so even if someone hasn't closed a deal yet, that doesn't mean that you can't listen to them and understand what they're trying to say.
Correct.
And from that, there was, and around the tables, kind of around us, we would get up at the end and
so
talk.
Explain the mastermind sessions for the people that never been to one.
Okay, so a mastermind session, basically what we did is I was because of my last name, starting with an A, I had to be the first test subject for it. But, you stand up, you stand up and you break apart your business, you break apart what's going on. In this case, we had right around 20 to 25 people in the room. They get to see everything that you have going on in your business, and then and they get to chime in. People that are more experienced than you get to chime in and give you tips and tricks and things that you should probably change or do. And really, what it is it's a boilerplate, is what it is. It boils down to really like a bowl of chili or whatever. You throw everything in there, and in the end, you have this awesome dish, right? And you just network with people, and it's really great because it's a more in-depth feeling, and you have to. A lot of people, they look at it and they look at like price tags, right? Like I know you mentioned in your YouTube channel and stuff, you spend like $25,000 for like
one mastermind,
just one for the year. Yeah. Well, what people don't understand is like that number is that number just goes up. Like the more you become successful, the more expensive it gets to become even more successful. It's just the nature of the game. People, to get in with people that are like-minded with you, their businesses, their time is important, and you have to spend more to get in there. So it's like, I think it's kind of funny when people talk about like the price tag. So for me, like I had deals that I had already closed or whatever. I invested in myself, and out of that, and that's what I was leading in from that into like what I do now. Like I came out of that. There's things in my business I didn't have, even though I'm super analytical. You'd think I'd have something as simple as like how I have my bank account structured, how I do my taxes. So like Scott Oots, the thing that was like, he bring up one screen and he showed, he break up 3 bank accounts, and you don't think about it because like in my personal bank account, I have it like that. But in my business bank account, I just opened one business bank account. All my money went into it, and I used QuickBooks, and that was that. And it was kind of annoying, right? But then he broke it down how much to set apart. So now every time, I receive a check, as soon as I get it, 20% goes into this account, 15% goes into this account, and then money stays in my other account. And I came out of it, and that one thing, right now it's tax season, right?
You feel good now, huh?
Yeah, I'm good. In fact, what's awesome is like I don't even have to pay taxes. So now I have this because I'm breaking even on taxes, I think 20 or 30,000 that we have inside of the tax account right now, that's new money. Like I'm putting that over into my profits account, and we're gonna probably there's two duplexes we're looking at right now with that. So it's you go into it and you take so much away, but you're not going to take anything away if you're not actively searching for the can of peas. If we're going to go back to that,
I like it. I get the weird example, but I like it. So tell people listening to this, especially the W-2 people, what it takes and your courage to leave that W-2 position to go pursue something that you actually want. What was going through your head? And because you've been in that position recently, what do you tell somebody in that same position you were in a year or so ago?
So, man, it's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it eats at you. I called my mom, I called my dad, I called everybody. I'm like, man, I'm about to make a decision, and everybody at my job, though, this is the crazy thing. It's so important to have people around you that support the hell out of you, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling people at my job, like, this is what I'm making. I'm making like in a month what I make in a year here, and they're like, why the hell are you still here? I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know, fear maybe, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them that, and, and they kind of pushed me along and kind of coached me up or whatever. And there was people, some younger guys, I guess my age, I should say, that kept coming up to me and asking me about what I'm doing. And I started talking with them and, educating them on what the business is. And they are entrepreneurially spirited. So they started wanting to move out. And I was like, I realized that, like I knew more about what I was doing now than what I really almost even did in my W-2, more or less. Like so that kind of encouraged me a little bit to know, like, hey, I know this. So what I just did is I just went and I sat down with my director, and I told her, I'm like, listen, this is what's going on. this is what I have going on. This is what I want to do. I've always wanted to do this. Like there's always been everybody that is, even if you're listening to this podcast right now, there's a huge chance that inside like your heart, like something deep down, you really can't express it. But there's something there that like can't be put into words that like you feel like it's like either whether it's something greater or it's something like you're worth more or whatever it is. Like there's really no words for explanation. You feel that. And if you feel that, especially, whether you're old or young, you have to seize that because there's no other time than like the now. So if you don't, then like, I'm not saying that when you leave, you're going to feel better. Yeah. I'm not saying that at all because when I left, I'm not saying that like I felt good because I didn't have to go there. But at the same time, I also felt freedom, but I also felt the pressure. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because now with that pressure, it just makes you excel even more. But I say just do it right now. Everyone's personal situation is going to be different. I got, a $2,000 a month mortgage, which was like a huge reason why I was like, man, I make this much. If I have this mortgage, my current W-2 can pay for my mortgage, and then I could take that money that I earned from my business and buy an extra rental property a month. You have all these excuses that you start bringing up in your mind on why you shouldn't do it. Yeah. But instead, you should focus on why you should and stop making excuses for yourself and just kick yourself and to the curb and just do it.
Dude, I love your story, man. I love everything about it. And, it's very common. I have these conversations at airports when I'm traveling, sitting next to people, just go out and do it, I guess, but, because it'll eat you alive. There's a guy that says, there's nursing homes are full of regrets. So don't be one of those people in the nursing home full of regrets, man. But, it's been great knowing you, on social. Then I finally get to meet you at the We Live 18 event, and you came to the Mastermind. And it's good to continue. I love watching you grow on social media. I see that you're very active now. Tell people where they can find you at on social media and reach out to you.
Yeah, so pretty much everywhere on social media. Instagram is Tyler Austin Original. That's where I'm at on Facebook, I'm pretty sure. YouTube, just Tyler Austin. I don't think I have original in there on YouTube. But yeah, I love giving back. If people have questions, or curious about what I do, just hit me up. Like it's educating other people. What I've learned is like you give and you get.
Doesn't it feel so good though when
it's so good, man.
And it's crazy. You don't even have to try. You just give it, and then next thing you turn around, it's like twice as much as you gave is right behind you. So I love giving, man, and I know that you're a giver, and I'm happy for you and your family that you don't have to deal with this anymore, and you've made that decision, and it's working out, and you enjoy it. And if you guys out there in podcast land have questions, and you're having that W-2 debate in your head, hit up Tyler, man, see what his thoughts were on it and how he did it, man. But once again, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on. This is podcast number 2, season 2 of the Wholesale and Elite podcast. I'm glad you made it. And hopefully I see you in We Live 19 in Dallas. And talking about We Live 19. Yeah. It was a little shameless plug. Today, I'm excited because today I just announced that Gary V is going to be speaking at We Live 19. He's coming. He's going to be at the event speaking. So make sure you're there. Gary Vaynerchuk's going to be speaking at We Live 19. And I hope to see you guys in Dallas, Texas. Tyler, I appreciate you coming on here, and I'll be watching, brother. Hope to see you soon.
We'll see you guys.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Wholesaling Houses Elite podcast with Maxwell. Make sure to tune in next week to see what elite wholesaler will have in the hot seat.